Hi students, this is Miss Stapp, and I am going over what we are doing as our asynchronous task for Design 4, and this is Tuesday. I'm going to let you know right away, if you've been working and staying up with all the work we've done so far, you might not have much to do today. If you're a little behind on getting your 3 feasible ideas for your script planner together and working on those tables where we took our criteria and evaluated our script planner, this day is for you. You'll be catching up on those things and uploading to manage back your work. Everybody will be showing me their evaluation tables that they're doing for B3, but we are not doing the annotation part of B3. Let me show you what I'm talking about first. I was looking at my script planner. Now I'm going to take you through what I'd like for you to upload today is in B3, and you can look at your formative podcast B3, and you will see that there are several parts. There's step 1, step 2, and step 3. What needs to be uploaded to me is step 1 only, evaluating your ideas against your criteria. However, in order to be able to do this, you will have to have B2 done, and you'll have to have your criteria really settled and in the correct format, and I'll go over that today. All right. For those of you that are ahead, B3 looks like this. Over on the left side, it should have the criteria. Mind you, you're looking at my one which hasn't been filled in, but I have one that's pretty much filled in on number 2 here. You will have all of your criteria, 1 through 10, cut and pasted under this table. And I've created a table for you in your formative. In this middle column, it says, is this criteria essential or desirable? And you will let me know based on the word choice that you used. Okay, remember, must is essential, may is desirable. It doesn't need to happen in order for this podcast to still be successful. Must, it has to happen. Then over here on the right-hand side, you're going to evaluate your script planner against your criteria, each one of them, and then tell me how it met it, if it did, or how it didn't meet this criteria. So you'll explain either one. For instance, my example here has my second criteria, must have jazzy intro music based on existing product analysis and secondary research from Podcasters World, because both research sources indicated that the listeners prefer upbeat music. So you can see here I followed the formula. I've identified whether this is essential or desirable by using must, it's essential. I wrote what has to happen. It has to have jazzy, upbeat intro music. I decided this was important, okay, essential, if you will, to success of this podcast because of 1, existing product analysis, and 2, my secondary research from Podcasters World. And 3, you have to identify why. Why is it important? You can't just say because. It's important because both research sources indicated that listeners prefer upbeat music. Okay, that's our formula. We have to have that formula correct for each one of our criteria, except for one, the one that is the constraint. I'll go over that one in just a minute. Okay, so I see that I have this criteria and my criteria is done well. I wrote that it's essential. And I've explained, I've justified right here how the solution meets the criteria or doesn't. It's not met because my music I decided on for this podcast planner was creepy instead of upbeat. Okay. So if you're ahead again, your formula is right for all those criteria, and you filled in your criteria against your planner for all 3, 1, 2, all 3 of your feasible ideas, that is what you will upload to me today. Okay, that's all you need to do. and you're going to upload it to ManageBack. Remember, I love a screenshot uploaded to ManageBack. You can also save this as a Google Doc or a Word as a PDF and upload it to me that way. I just need to see all of those three. Remember, you're going to have 3 tables with your criteria against your 3 different feasible ideas, and I'm going to go over that next. Let's look, and I will show you what this looks like under your formative podcast B3 under your personal tab. Remember, we are just doing step 1 for today. You already have this, and originally I had hoped to do this together in class to help you do some self-evaluation of it and then move on with this step 2 and step 3, but that'll have to happen later on in this week. All right. Here we go, where you can see it says evaluate the ideas against your criteria. Evaluate each of your feasible ideas. You have 3 of them. Each of you independently created 3. Even if you're in a group, you have 3. Okay. And that's 1, 2, 3. That is all you need to do. Take a screenshot of it and upload for me. Now, let's look at some questions that you might have. I'm taking you back to the content library, and we're going to start with B1. Now, some of you are a little behind, and that's what this day is for. I'm going to scroll down and show you again an example. Okay, this is my podcast specification criteria examples where I was doing the Snappy Salad podcast. You can see again, oops. Oh, here is the formula. I've also placed this on the content library for B3, so you can look at that formula and you can also look at those examples. Again, make sure that each of your criteria starts with will, must, or may. It names the critical thing that needs to happen in order for this product to be successful. And it states what it is based on, the research source. So you saw that in my example here, I have survey and I have existing podcasts. Remember that if you name in your sentence survey or existing podcast, you don't need to do an in-text citation. Okay? If you are listing that it is from secondary research online, what I would do is name the title of that organization or the title of the article. Then you don't need to do any in-text citation. All right. So that is what I wanted to tell you about going back and making sure each one of these criteria are done correctly. The one that I need to add here at the very bottom, remember that we also need to include any of our restrictions. Do you remember me saying that? So one of your criteria must say 1 podcast episode must be completed based on client requirements. We don't need to explain that any more than our client required it, so it must be done. All right. That is what I wanted to go back and remind you about your criteria. The last thing I need to tell you about today, and some of us were still working on B2, and these are our 3 feasible ideas. Here's my example. I created a sample script planner called Things to Do. And remember, some of the things in your podcast planner can be the same for each of your feasible ideas. You've already decided on a series name. That'll be the same on each of your 3 feasible idea planners. You probably already know what kind of style you're going to do. That can be the same. You probably know who your hosts are going to be. Okay, and what else? You've already put your log line, those introductory sentences that help promote your podcast to the right people. You've put that on your website. So that will be the same for each of these feasible planner scripts. However, the things that will be different will be your sponsor message. Make sure that each of your script planners have different words for the sponsor message. You can also change up on each the order of how you do some of these, and that would be a nice way to try out different formats for each of these planners. The other thing that should be different for each of your planners is your intro music. Choose something different. This will force you to go and look at other options. The next thing that should be different are your intro words. Make sure that you use different words for each of your planners. That also gives the opportunity to try different options and brainstorm different things. For your topic, you can just write topic here. We're going to start in a few classes from now. We're going to start working on what that content system should look like. Right now, it can just say topic. Your segue. Try different segues for each. Maybe one planner has a segue and one doesn't. Maybe the segues are in different places. Maybe you're using sound segue, song segue, and word segue. Try each of those out. Your closing remarks for each script planner should be different. Your outro music should be different for each script planner of your 3. Remember, we're talking about the 3 feasible ideas. And, excuse me, your outro words should be different for each of these 3 script planners. So, if you are behind on B1 and B2, again, this is your opportunity to catch up because you need all of that for B3. Remember, today we are not doing the annotation. We are only doing step 1. Let me take you back so we can look at it one more time. We are doing step 1 in your podcast B3, evaluating your ideas against your criteria. So what you will upload to me are 3 tables. 1, 2, 3. Each of these tables will have your feasible script against your criteria. It will be the same criteria for each of these tables, but you have a different feasible idea, a different feasible script that you are comparing or evaluating against those criteria. Okay? Again, that's all that's due today. Upload it to ManageBack before 11:59 p.m. Stay warm. I miss you, and I will see you all next class.